Please welcome Charlotte to Loose Women.
How's it going? Hey! You look amazing.
Oh, thanks, darling. I didn't realise this was so... I'm like...
Darling, second. Yeah, these chairs are quite a spinning chair as well.
Yes.
So let's start off, first of all, with your project, The Dreaming. It's a wellness retreat. Now, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the original name of the house. Go on, you say it.
Rydol Dog. Rydol Dog House.
Rydol Dog.
Yeah, Rydol Dog House is beautiful.
And it was where Laura Ashley lived.
Yeah, so it was Laura Ashley's old family home, and I spent the last 2 years putting my heart and soul into renovating it to make it a beautiful retreat centre. And, yeah, it's the land, really, I think, that got me. It's flanked by 2 waterfalls, forests. I mean, it's just like...
Is it something you've always wanted to do? Like, what made you want to open a retreat as such?
I think that, in a way, like, all of my life has led me here, all sorts of different reasons. You know, my own mental health, my family and friends' mental health, just sort of seeing how much people are struggling in society in general, really. Like, the pace of life is fast, it's frantic, it's burning out our nervous systems a lot of the time. And so I just wanted to create somewhere that people could come and be peaceful and restful, playful, and also just really feel like they're, like, with nature, a part of nature, not a part from nature, you know, just to really...
Because the countryside, I mean, as you said there, it means a lot to you, doesn't it? And it did make me laugh when I was reading about the birth of your 3rd child. Your plan was to have her outdoors,
amongst
wasn't it?
the trees, absolutely.
And what happened?
Well, I laboured overnight amongst the trees, and I mean, it was gorgeous. I had gone...
What time of year was this?
It was late August.
Oh, okay.
It was
Not too cold.
August,
Yeah.
And I had laboured overnight, and, you know, I mean, it looked like a Baz Luhrmann film set. It was just, like, all candles and, like, loads of my friends had made me bunting and stuff. So it was really beautiful, like, loads of intention and stuff had gone into it. And, yeah, it was great. So laboured overnight there, and then it started drizzling in the morning, and I could just hear... we live quite close to a golf course, and I could hear the golfers starting, and I was starting to get quite vocal in my birth. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go in the house, and then I had her on the bathroom floor.
Perfect. So you mentioned, like, your mental health, and that's kind of the reason behind the centre. You know, when you were in the music industry, and the stress that you felt whilst you were there, and the kind of intrusion into your privacy, did that lead to some of, like, looking for wellness and looking for help and support with mental health as well?
Look, I think, you know, from my own point of view, I've had all sorts of different struggles throughout my life. And, you know, lots of them obviously are sort of the situation of being famous as a youngster, but, you know, lots of them are before that. So I think that the majority of us are carrying around a lot of baggage and a lot of trauma, and that influences our behaviour every day. We've got, you know, weird patterns and things which don't really make sense, you know, and actually mean that we can't find rest and we can't switch off. I think particularly for women as well, because we often fill those caring roles, and then a lot of the time with those caring roles comes a lot of worry, you know, and then we're talking about generationally females through the line, a lot of worry, a lot of stress, a lot of trauma, and we're carrying that around with us. And so what I'm trying to do with the retreat centre is just give people a way in which to start exploring that stuff, but very lightly. You know, it's not like a big deep dive into pain and trauma. It's just like, you know, just a gentle way to start experiencing all sorts of different well-being therapies that can really help.
I mean, you mentioned there being a child star, but, I mean, I remember I interviewed you when you were 12, I think. And, you know, you were a hugely talented young woman, you still are, but you kind of went into it with talent rather than looking for fame. Nobody looks for fame, really, at the age of 12. And you were sort of very much plunged into this world that was hard to deal with. What would the Charlotte of today say to 12-year-old Charlotte?
I think in the majority, I think I was exactly the same being then as I am now. You know, like, the core of me was the same. Really interested in, you know, I don't know, just like light and love and justice and, you know, all of that stuff. And yet there, you know, like layers of nonsense happen because you protect yourself and whatever, which I had to. And, you know, the press years particularly, with the way I and my family were treated by the press was harrowing, you know, like a lot of shame. I had all sorts of different like stories written about me, about my family, but from my boyfriends and stuff, you know, that was really formative. They were really formative experiences which were sold.
And that was almost actually before social media.
Yeah, totally.
Imagine what it would have been like with that as well on top.
Do you think that's why you've kind of tried to keep your own kids away from social media and phones and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, to be honest, in terms of the phones and the tech stuff, that's more to do with the science.
Yeah.
Like the science that's coming out, the neuroscience of how technology is changing our brains and the structure of our brains, literally training us towards distraction, training us to hold our memory outside of our bodies in the form of, you know, photos and things like that. And then if we don't have that, if we don't have the ability to pay attention and to remember, how do we form personalities? You know, for me, like I understand how tech, the ways in which tech is wonderful, but I think that we really have to realise what, you know, how that we have to limit it. But lots of people in Silicon Valley, and lots of books and stuff that I've read about it, they've got all sorts of ways of stopping their children and their family from using it too much. They've got like hardcore limiters and stuff that like limit Wi-Fi around the house and all these really extreme measures. So if people in Silicon Valley are doing it, I think it's wise.
Oh, yeah. But how did you manage it with your children, though? Did you do it through conversation and just explaining your methods?
Pretty much all through conversation. I am very... I'm a really open parent and I don't enforce my will. But that's the only area that I did, because I was just like, look, this is my one red line, guys. But almost everything else, and even with phones, because they've got phones now, but it's just, you know, we've got limitations on it, but it's more about them. We look at their screen time together. And so rather than there being a punishment of like, oh, look, you've gone over or whatever, it's more like, how do you feel? How did it make you feel? Did you, you know, what did you spend that time doing, and was that worthwhile? And so it's just more like a...
Education.
Education and a dialogue, so that they can start to self-reflect and then they can start sorting it out themselves.
So what about new music? We've missed you. We've missed
We were saying how much we love that
song. When you came back with that song, it was just such a departure from the classical. Are we going to be expecting any new music?
Well, I'm doing a tour at the moment, so I've got an unbelievably fun festival band called Charlotte Church's Late Night Pop Dungeon, and so yeah, we've got a gig in Leeds, Manchester, Bristol and Cardiff coming up.
Oh, wow.
And in Rhayader, but that's sold out. But yeah, it is literally the most fun a human being can have in an hour and a half. Sold. I promise. It's just super joyful, like really helping people to get to those real heights of ecstasy and joy and freedom.
I love
and people are dancing and crying in the audience. We're a 9-piece band, and we but it's covers, so we mash up things like Rage Against the Machine and Black Sabbath with Destiny's Child. So it's like a real, what's it going to be next?
You know what? The nicest thing is you just radiate happiness.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see you, and fantastic luck with the wellness retreat, which opens in January, I believe.
Opens in January, yes.
And hopefully a new album. You can come and talk to us about that when it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have a great Christmas. So nice to see you.